We have finally made it to the point where One Championship is slowing down for a couple of weeks. The final event in this 3-week period of non-stop bangers ends with One Fight Night 15 this Friday/Saturday. One Fight Night 14 is done and dusted. It was a fantastic event. Of course, the week before that, we had Rodtang and Superlet go to war in an instant classic. And now we've got One Fight Night 15, which has gone through a lot of changes. So let's get stuck into the preview for this card. I should say right from the start, the full bout graphic that normally gets posted on Fight Week isn't up yet at the time of recording this, and so I expect there to be some more bouts added, as currently there are only 7 even confirmed, which is very short for a One Championship card. So I expect there to be a few more fights announced. Maybe I'll put up a separate video reacting to those once that is announced and out there. And obviously I don't know the specific bout order. I was usually put the graphic, this side, and we would go through it. But I don't have that available. So I will put what I have available at the time of recording this video, but that is it. The other thing to point out is we had 2 huge fights fall off of this card, unfortunately. This card was originally shaping up to have 3 World Championship contests at the top of the card, and we lost 2 of them. We lost Jonathan Haggerty versus Fabricio Andrade for the vacant bantamweight. Oh god, all these fights confuse me. The 1 bantamweight kickboxing world championship. 2 champions, of course, Haggerty being the Muay Thai champion and Andrade being the MMA champion. I was very excited for that fight. I think that Andrade has the capabilities to hang with some of these elite strikers, and I was really excited to see how he would do against somebody like Haggerty, who is one of my favourite fighters on the roster. So we lost that. We also lost Tawanchai defending his featherweight Muay Thai belt against Superbon, one of the best striking matchups of the year. Absolutely devastated a couple of weeks ago to see that Superbon got an injury and wouldn't be fighting on this event. Yeah, we lost 2 great fights. There's still some stuff to get into. There's still some great stuff to keep an eye out for. But yeah, we did lose those 2. Haggerty and Andrade has been rescheduled for One Fight Night 16, of course, the next event, the next Fight Night event, even coming from One Championship, and we did get Tawanchai staying on the card, but we'll get into that in a minute. At the moment, the 2 fights that will be earlier on in the card, at the moment they open the card, but as I said, I expect more fights to be announced. You've got 2 MMA contests, Iko Roni Sapucho taking on Yong Hu, and Timofey Nastyukhin taking on Li Peng Zhang. These both should be great fights. I think that sometimes these MMA fights, especially when I do these previews, right, I'm talking to you about the big fights right at the top of the card. These are the reasons why you should tune into the card. However, as always, watch the whole card. There's going to be great stuff throughout the night. There always is. And these 2 MMA fights are definitely worth tuning in a little bit earlier for, because they should be absolute bangers. Now, as we get to the top of the card, you've got a matchup in the strawweight division to determine the next title challenger. Joshua Pasio, the former champion, taking on Mansur Malachiev. Pasio, of course, lost the belt to Jared Brooks in December last year. Was it November? One of the 2. 164, I believe. Had a bunch of title defenses before, and of course has held the belt multiple times. So this is a really big fight for him to prove that he still belongs at the top of the division and maybe get a rematch against Brooks. And standing across from him, you've got Mansur Malachiev looking to pick off the biggest scalp of his career, the former champ. He came in and looked great on his debut. I think he submitted Jeremy Miado in the first round. He looks very good, and this strawweight division really needs some new blood. Brooks proved that when he tore through a lot of the top contenders, and of course he hasn't fought Malachiev, and I think that is the most interesting matchup probably in the division. But of course, in order to get that, Malachiev must beat Pasio this weekend, which is a tough ask. A lot of stakes going into this one. I'm sure Jared Brooks will be watching it closely, and I imagine they will probably fight later on. The winner of this fight and Brooks will probably fight later on this year. So big stakes there. You've also got Mikey Musumeci back in action. He is taking on a legend of combat sports, Shinya Aoki, in a grappling contest, a catchweight contest, of course, because Musumeci is a fair bit smaller. He is the 1 flyweight submission grappling world champion. His title is not on the line in this matchup. It's just a fun matchup. It's not, usually if Musumeci's in action, I'm going to be talking a lot more about it and stuff like that. It's not really that kind of fight. I expect Musumeci to come through this and put on a bit of a show. I hope that it at least delivers for the fans at Lumpini, and I hope that it's a good watch, because it's a fun matchup just to see. I never thought I would get to see Mikey Musumeci grapple Aoki, so it's fun. Moving up, as I said previously, Tawanchai is staying on the card. He's facing Joe Natuat in kickboxing. I don't believe he is defending... No, of course he isn't, because he doesn't hold that belt. It is what it is. We wanted the Super 1 fight. We didn't get it. I expect him to come through this fight fairly easily, to be honest. Tawanchai is just that good. And I hope that we get to rebook that Super 1 fight, because that's the one. That's a banger. But we do have 2 title fights at the top of this card. The first of which is for Jonathan DeBella's 1 flyweight kickboxing world championship. He won the belt last year in his 1 championship debut, one of the best fights of the year against Zhang Pei Mian. A lot of people wanted to see that rematch. It didn't end up happening. I know Zhang has gone on and fought in 1 championship since then. I was a little bit disappointed to see that we aren't getting that rematch, but if there is anyone that deserves a title fight with time to prepare, is Daniel Williams, because the man signs up for every fight. Even when Superlek missed weight against Rodtang, I saw people already posted about shame Daniel Williams has got a fight booked, because you know he'd be the man they call. Daniel Williams is the epitome of the fighter stereotype of has gloves and will travel. You tell that man a date and a time and he will be there ready to throw down, and he always delivers fun fights. He, of course, came up short against Superlek last time around, stepping in to replace Rodtang on short notice at One Fight Night 8. I believe that was the last Williams fight. Yeah. So how will he fare at strawweight against Jonathan DeBella? Well, I think strawweight is a better weight class for him for a start than flyweight. We will see, obviously, when it comes to weigh-in day, because obviously that is always a lot of tense energy and drama with these events, but I am excited for this fight. I thought DeBella looked fantastic in his 1 championship debut. He was a lot of fun, and so I'm excited to see him back defending the belt. And Williams, like I said, is a game opponent, always throws down. I did do an interview with Williams last week for the MMA Superfan. That video, I don't believe, is up yet, but it will be on Fight Week. So if you want to check out an interview I did with Mini T, you can go and check that out for yourself. But there should be a fun contest, and like I said, I'm excited to watch both guys fight. So it should be an interesting one. And the main event, a very late notice main event. This came together after the whole situation with Andrade and Haggerty and Superbon and Tawanchai. You have got an interim lightweight world championship. Tan Lee, the former champion, taking on Ilia Freeman in the absence of the Chinese champion Tan Kai, who of course was scheduled to face Tan Lee in a rematch earlier this year. That didn't happen. Tan Kai had to pull out. And so we have got an interim belt. I am not usually against interim belts in these kind of circumstances, right? You have got multiple contenders in the lightweight division who are probably deserving of a title shot. However, Tan Lee was already booked against Tan Kai in the rematch. That should have happened. It didn't. So you automatically go, well, he deserves it. But if he has to wait around, then so do all the other top contenders who don't need to fight again. Ilia Freeman has produced back-to-back finishes since signing with 1 championship. He, of course, stopped Martin Wen, the former champion, on his debut. So he is incredibly deserving of this shot as well. And so I think the interim title makes sense. They needed a main event for this card, and I think it is a deserving one. I'm glad. As much as people want to complain about interim belts and stuff like that, one of the things that I like is it means, specifically in 1 championship's case, is it means we get a battle between 2 top contenders over 5 rounds. Of course, there isn't, if it was the UFC and you get fight night main events and things like that, but with 1 championship, I'm excited that this fight is 5 rounds, because I think it deserves to be when you have 2 guys that are this good and the stakes that are on the line in this matchup. I'm very excited for this. It'll be interesting to see how Tan Lee comes back. He had moments against Tan Kai, but for the most part was shut down. And Freemanov looks scary. He looks like a scary striker. A little bit like the Pasio Malachev. I guess Pasio obviously was the former champion, has been around for a bit longer, but it does feel like, you've got the proven guy in the division versus the guy that everyone's talking about. And of course, with the interim title, that adds a little bit of extra drama in there, and it'll be exciting. I think either of these guys going up against Tan Kai again, if it adds more excitement for a rematch between Tankai and Tan Lee if Lee is able to beat Freeman off, because that shows that, yeah, like, this dude, it belongs at the top of the division, and so let's run it back. And if Freemanov wins, I think him versus Tankai is a huge fight. So either way, I think that this makes a unification bout even more exciting. So I'm fine with the interim belt, and like I said, excited to see this one play out over 5 rounds. Which fight on this card are you most looking forward to? Like I said, I will probably release an updated kind of card overview if we do get some added fights, which I expect to see in the next few days. But until then, enjoy the fights, and I'll catch you on the next video.